Fala família, bom dia. Fala galera. Charles Oliveira is coming back to the octagon to fight Rafael Fiziev. This is out of nowhere, totally shocking news. Charles Oliveira fight announcement only 3 months after getting knocked out by Ilia Topuria. I don't think anyone saw this coming, but Oliveira is back. He is going to be fighting Rafael Fiziev in Rio de Janeiro as a main event on October 11th, which would mean that this is a 3-month turnaround after Charles Oliveira again suffered a KO defeat to Ilia Topuria, which to me means that Charles Oliveira is still hungry and he is itching to get back in the octagon. He is not mentally checked out. Now, is he physically washed? Is he declined? I think he's slightly declined, but is he physically washed? We are going to find out. But mentally, Charles Oliveira wants to get back in the octagon. He's not liking the fact that he just took a L, and a brutal one at that, and he wants to go out there and knock someone out. He wants to get a submission. He wants to make a statement, and this is a fascinating stylistic matchup. Rafael Fiziev versus Charles Oliveira. I remember there were talks to make this fight in the beginning of 2023. This was actually the matchup that everyone was talking about was going to be next for Charles Oliveira after his loss to Islam Makhachev. This was the one everyone was talking about. People were saying, oh no, Oliveira just got dropped by Makhachev. He's not the same. Remember, people were saying he was washed back then. And they were worried that Rafael Fiziev, given that Fiziev has that, classic style, they were worried that Rafael Fiziev was going to be the one to put him out. Rafael Fiziev, at least on the outside, looks like he has an anti-Oliveira style. And I think a part of that is, again, he's a short, stocky guy. He does the, he has the more dignified grunts. He's like a dignified Justin Gaethje with the way that he grunts in the octagon. And he's got the Viking aura. That Viking aura, to be honest, if Fiziev never landed that highlight reel-worthy combination on Renato Moicano, I don't think people would talk about Fiziev as a power puncher. But then again, he just is an explosive guy. So that was a matchup that people were terrified for Oliveira shortly after he lost to Islam Makhachev. But now this fight is going to take place years later, and Charles Oliveira is in a similar position, if not a worse position, given that he wasn't only dropped in his last fight, but he was brutally KO'd. And, listen, no matter who you're picking in this fight, this is a cause for concern. The fact that Charles Oliveira is choosing to fight 3 months after getting brutally knocked out is a cause for concern. However, I have seen fighters get brutally KO'd, and I've seen them return. Granted, they've not always done so well when they've returned only a few months after losing by brutal KO, but the guys that I'm talking about that I've seen get KO'd and been able to come back with a win, fair enough, they're usually taking 6 or 7 months off, but I've seen it happen before. There was a time where we were saying that Justin Gaethje was washed after he fought Charles Oliveira. We were saying Justin Gaethje, he's got no chin anymore. He's been in all of these wars. He got sent flying across the octagon with that right hand of Charles Oliveira. There's no way Justin Gaethje is going to be able to beat Rafael Fiziev. That was the guy he was fighting. Remember, Justin Gaethje, when he fought Rafael Fiziev the first time, I would say damn near 80% of people were fixed on the idea of Justin Gaethje getting brutally knocked out by the slickster Rafael Fiziev. And actually, Justin Gaethje won that fight. His chin is still intact. And it's very possible that, getting KO'd by Ilia Topuria, that's one thing. But, if there's a guy that shows us an example of Ilia Topuria just hits different, and it's Volkanovski. Alexander Volkanovski got brutally knocked out by Ilia Topuria. Before that, by Islam Makhachev. And granted, he did take a year off in between his Topuria fight and the Diego Lopez fight, but he went in there with a heavy puncher in Diego Lopez, who in my opinion is a heavier pound-for-pound puncher than Rafael Fiziev, and his chin was intact. And so the 3 months, it's a bit of a cause for concern. But here's what I have to say about Rafael Fiziev. Number one, he didn't look so dominant against Ignacio Bahamondes. Okay? And number two, I've been saying this for a while. I talked about Fiziev with the Viking aura and the that he has, and the shorter, stocky man's explosive. I see people are saying I say aura too much. The shorter, stocky man mystique. How about the word mystique? Is that better? Fiziev just looks like a guy who hits hard, but let's be honest, as far as the results go, Dude, Fiziev's not knocking anyone out. He didn't even technically put Moicano out. He kind of flash knocked him out, and then he woke back up. It was a bit of an early stoppage. But what I'm saying is, if there's anybody that is a superior striker to Charles Oliveira that I think he can go into a fight with after getting KO'd and not get knocked out against, it's a guy like Rafael Fiziev, who, again, I think is overrated power. And I think Oliveira has a firepower advantage in this fight. I think he's the much heavier hitter. Yes, Oliveira is hittable. Yes, he doesn't have the best head movement or defense, and he doesn't even have, great eyesight. But again, Rafael Fiziev, kind of a short reach, he's not really fucking people up that much in the pocket. Okay? Not really. Fiziev, even against Justin Gaethje, where there were plenty of moments where they were in the pocket, Justin Gaethje was the one giving him the business. It was Rafael Fiziev that was landing the crafty knees to the midsection and the teeps to the body and the good roundhouse kicks and some head kicks here and there. And yeah, he landed a couple of punches, but again, I think Oliveira can eat a shot. Now, maybe his chin is gone. Maybe Charles will no longer be able to take a good punch. That is possible. But I've seen a lot of fighters bounce back from KOs where they're not just getting knocked out with like average Joe shots, where it's like evident that their chin is no longer anywhere near as durable as it was when they were in their prime. I suspect that Oliveira's chin might be slightly declined, but not enough for Rafael Fiziev to knock him out. And I understand Rafael Fiziev has good takedown defense. He does. Very athletic, kind of like Petr Yan with his takedown defense. And he's pretty strong in the clinch and whatnot. But the problem is with Fiziev, I think that early on he can do well against Oliveira. I think that early on, although I do think Oliveira has a chance to knock Fiziev out, because I think he'll be able to take a shot to land one of his own. And if he lands a similar elbow to the one that he landed on Ilia, I could see Rafael Fiziev getting badly hurt. Fiziev's been getting hurt here and there in his fights recently. So Oliveira has a chance to get a KO in the first round. He does have a chance. But it's likely that he won't get a KO in the first round. But what I think is that because Rafael Fiziev has shown that he has problems with his gas tank, even when he takes a very measured economic approach like he did against Justin Gaethje. Now, granted, against Justin Gaethje, to be fair, he took that on short notice, but still, Fiziev always slows down in his fights. Short notice or full training camp, he always slows down. And Oliveira may not have the best gas tank ever, but he has a better gas tank than Fiziev. I think that, he's going to have a physicality and strength and size advantage over Fiziev, even though Fiziev is strong and explosive. As the fight goes on and Fiziev gets tired, I think Oliveira will be able to wear on him in the grappling, potentially get a takedown. And I know Fiziev is pretty good with his ability to keep it on the feet, but if he gets taken down by Oliveira and he's tired and Oliveira is starting to gain confidence, I think Oliveira could even finish him on the ground. And either way, I'm going to pick Charles Oliveira by a decision, because think about it, it's a main event. And Rafael Fiziev, 5 rounds, I know he's been able to do it against RDA, but RDA is a completely different fighter. He is much lower level. And I know there's going to be some people in the comments saying, whoa, man, RDA is a monster, man. Dude, come on. This is not 2015, all right? Charles Oliveira is probably 30 levels above RDA, okay? And the thing is, RDA has absolutely no power in his hands. Rafael Fiziev, when he fought RDA in a 5-rounder, had nothing to worry about. So and RDA doesn't put pressure on you like he used to, okay? So Rafael Fiziev was able to have a nice slow, tit-for-tat kind of fight, where against Oliveira, it's sort of a gunfight as soon as it starts, and he's putting that pressure on you. And I think he's going to force Rafael Fiziev into a dogfight, into a very physical fight. There's going to be clinch moments, and I think Fiziev gets tired, and I think Oliveira wins, either by decision, by a TKO in the second round, or maybe he gets a TKO or submission on the ground. So I am going to favor Charles Oliveira in this fight. Again, I am worried because it is a 3-month turnaround. It's concerning, but ultimately, again, I've seen it a lot, where we think fighters are going to be totally done as far as their durability is concerned, and they come back and they win. They're able to take punches. I think Oliveira in this matchup will be able to take punches. It's not like he's going in there and fighting. It's crazy that I'm going to even bring up Max as an example, but even Max Holloway, and I know technique is a part of it. But, Rafael Fiziev, he's not lacking as far as technique goes, necessarily. Even Max Holloway has more devastating knockouts, than Rafael Fiziev. And I know that, in people's minds, they just can't comprehend that. Well, Rafael Fiziev is built like a tree stump and Holloway's built like a pipsqueak. What are you saying? Max Holloway, it would be dangerous. If Charles was fighting, who's another power puncher at lightweight? If Charles, Ilia, I was about to say, Gaethje, dude, honestly, if Charles was fighting Gaethje, I'd be worried for him. And I really mean that. And listen, I know Oliveira could easily take Justin Gaethje down and sub him. But, even when Oliveira was at his absolute peak, he got hit against Gaethje pretty often and got dropped. I would be more worried if he was fighting a guy like Justin Gaethje, even though I think that if that fight hits the mat, Oliveira wins instantly. You get my point. This isn't the scariest matchup. I think that it's interesting. It's interesting because, again, Oliveira slightly declined. Rafael Fiziev still in his prime. Fiziev does. He ostensibly has that anti-Oliveira style, right? It seems like it. But when you really think about it, I don't think he really does, to be honest. Because I think in order to beat Oliveira, you got to have a good gas tank if you've not got crazy power. Because you've got to be able to make him pay for having bad defense for more than one round. Or you got to be hitting like a freaking truck, okay? And I just don't think Fiziev has either of those. So I love this matchup nonetheless. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think it is going to be a barn burner while it lasts because Oliveira is going to go in there super aggressive. Fiziev will, in my opinion, have success early. Maybe he drops Oliveira. Listen, don't be surprised if he hurts Oliveira. I'm just saying, I don't know if he puts him out. I don't know if he puts him away. But I'm not going to sit here and say he has no chance. Listen, again, Oliveira is slightly declined. He's slower than he was in the past. He did just get KO'd brutally 3 months ago. So there is some cause for concern. And yeah, maybe you could go with Fiziev. But I still imagine Fiziev is going to be a slight underdog in this matchup. Either way, should be a fun fight. Should be a barn burner for at least a round, okay? Maybe this ends very early. I could see Oliveira landing a massive punch early on in this fight and maybe dropping Fiziev, getting him on the ground. And if you have Oliveira grappling you on the ground early, things get dangerous. Now, to be fair, he didn't finish Michael Chandler, but every fight's a little bit different. This is interesting, though. This is very interesting, though. Again, now that I think about it, he couldn't finish Michael Chandler. Maybe he doesn't finish Rafael Fiziev. But I still favor Oliveira. I like him in this matchup. I really do. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until next time.